Good morning, everybody. If you could all stand and face the flag, we're going to sing, I'm not going to sing the national anthem, we're going to listen to the national anthem. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us here in the middle of America's Everglades, and thanks for joining us, Governor DeSantis. It's rare to be more than an hour from the nearest Publix, mini storage, CVS, or Starbucks and still be in Florida, so I thank you all for making the journey out here. I'm Chauncey Goss. I'm on the governing board of the South Florida Water Management District. I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues here who I'd like to recognize. A man who needs no introduction in the Everglades, Alligator Ron Bergeron, is with us. Ben Butler from Okeechobee. Charlie Martinez of Miami-Dade, Charlotte Roman, retired Colonel, United States Army, Marco Island, and Palm Beach's very own Jay Steinley. Thank you all for being here. In addition to our distinguished speakers, we also have with us Dr. Wes Brooks, the state's Chief Resiliency Officer. He's been working on this project since the first day, so Wes, thanks very much for being here. And I don't know if Senator Joe Negron's here, but he's worked so hard on this project. If he is here, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all the work you did on Senate Bill 10. So as we approach the completion, the commencement, or the major milestone of nearly 70 projects since 2019, I want to point out that none of this would be possible without our fantastic staff at the district who worked tirelessly under the leadership of Drew Bartlett. I'd like to give them all a hand, please. And of course, none of this would be possible without Florida's greatest advocate for our Everglades, our Governor, Ron DeSantis. It's his direction we follow, it's his vision that we execute, and it's a big vision. He told us to expedite this project, and we have been expediting. Now, in case the vastness of this place is lost on any of you, I'm told that you could fit every single major Florida theme park in this project area, and you still have room to spare. That's not a recommendation, just an observation. We do not work in a vacuum. We've got many partners, stakeholders here with us here to celebrate today. So in addition to our federal partners at the Corps of Engineers and the Department of Interior and our federal legislative delegation, we have many state partners, whether it's the Florida's legislature, our DEP is represented by Secretary Hamilton, FWC represented by Executive Director Young, FDACS, FDOT. We rely on them all, and we thank them all for allowing us to make such great progress. I'd also like to mention some of our corporate partners. They've helped to make this possible for us as well. From Phillips and Jordan, who are responsible for construction here, as well as the C-43, to FP&L, who've been responsive to our expedited schedule. We appreciate that. And to Florida Crystals, who've helped us make progress on this site. I thank them all. So as you sit here today and look around, please remember the why we are here. In short, we're here to get the water right in Florida's Everglades. I remember back 8 years ago in January of 2016, we had an El Nino year. It's similar to what we're experiencing now. we had significant discharges from Lake Okeechobee that went to our estuaries, and that happened during the tourist season in both the winter and the spring. It was something we weren't used to. It opened a lot of eyes as both our environment and our economy were threatened. 2017 gave us Hurricane Irma. 2018 was a year I think we'd all like to forget. In 2019, the governor said, expedite the EAA, the reservoir, the STA, and make sure, and here we are in 2024 at the ribbon cutting of this stormwater treatment area. I am thrilled to report that the stormwater treatment area is constructed, and we are going to start filling it today, the first cell, and by the summer, all 3 of the cells, as you look out across there, are going to be full. So if you want to know what progress looks like in Everglades restoration, look no further. It's now my distinct honor to introduce Florida's 46th governor, our governor, Ron DeSantis.
Well, thanks so much and good morning. We're here in the middle of the Florida Everglades. This is the largest and most significant restoration effort in all the United States of America. And really probably isn't even close in terms of what we've embarked upon. Obviously, this has been going on for decades now, but we came into office where we needed to start to really reignite these efforts. And we did, and we put a lot of emphasis on the importance of restoring the Everglades, and we would not be here today if we had not done that 5 years ago. We set out in January of 2019 to dedicate $2.5 billion for Everglades restoration and water quality improvement efforts during my first term as governor. And that was $1 billion more over those 4 years than what had been done over the previous 4 years. And so that was ambitious. And a lot of people didn't think that that was something that was even going to be achievable. That first 4 years, we didn't do the $2.5 billion. We did $3.3 billion for those efforts. And so over the last 5 years, we have either completed or broken ground on 67 different Everglades-related projects. We've done things like break ground and complete the old Tamiami Trail roadbed removal project 6 months ahead of schedule, and secured full funding and completed the raising of the Tamiami Trail. That has allowed more water to flow south to Everglades National Park. We completed the C-44 reservoir and stormwater treatment area to store and improve water quality in the Indian River Lagoon and St. Lucie Estuary. We've made major progress on the C-43 reservoir project, which, of course, will help our folks reduce harmful discharges to the Caloosahatchee estuary and provide beneficial freshwater flows during the dry season to our friends in Southwest Florida. We completed the S333N, which doubles the amount of water that can be moved south into Everglades National Park. Completed miles of underground seepage wall to keep more water in Everglades National Park and get more water to Florida Bay. And we completed the Kissimmee River Restoration Project, the largest restoration initiative of its kind to restore natural flow and floodplain to the headwaters of the Everglades. Now, there's more that we can say, of course, and maybe others will mention it, but of all the projects, one of the most central, of course, is this EAA reservoir. And when I signed our executive order, when I first took office back in 2019, we called on the district here in South Florida to expedite construction of the EAA Reservoir Project stormwater treatment area. And this is because we want to send more clean water south, and we need the infrastructure to be able to do it. And this is something that has been a priority. So I'm proud to stand here today as we start filling the first of 3 cells of the 6,500-acre EAA Reservoir stormwater treatment area, and take a huge step forward for Everglades restoration and protecting our waterways for harmful discharges. This is an important day, and we're happy to be a part of it. The district was able to start construction on this project more than 1 year ahead of schedule in April of 2020. And so we appreciate that. There's not often times when things are done ahead of schedule when you're talking about government, but we've been able to do that here in Florida. So we're proud of the strides that we've made. There's obviously still more work that needs to be done, but this is an important part of the vision of being able to send water south. This entire stormwater treatment area will be full of water this summer. Of course, the Army Corps began constructing the 10,000-acre reservoir next door, and we look forward to them completing their responsibility and get that done ASAP. So with the efforts we've already undertaken and the investments we've already made, clearly you've seen the impact in terms of the water that now flows south, that is nourishing the Everglades and recharging our aquifers. Florida Bay, for example, has reached its salinity goal for the first time in decades, and that was a pipe dream 5 years ago. Now, last year, we reaffirmed our commitment to start the second term as governor with our latest executive order, 23-06. Now, we called in that executive order for $3.5 billion to be invested in Everglades restoration efforts as well as water quality improvements over the 4 years, 23 to 27. And that would be a major milestone if we were able to reach that. So I'm proud to say we're on our way to meeting that goal. In this current year's budget, out of the $3.5 million that we are shooting for over 4 years, we got $1.6 billion appropriated for this current fiscal year. So that's a record. We've never seen anything like it. And we're shooting for another $1.1 billion in the next fiscal year. Of course, the legislature's in session. I think the House and Senate are going to be releasing their budgets soon. We did ours, of course, months ago. But that $1.1 billion includes another $64 million for the EAA Reservoir to continue to build the momentum for this project. So this is where we stand today. The Florida Everglades is one of the most significant natural resources that the United States has, not just the state of Florida, but the entire country. It provides drinking water for more than 8 million people in southern Florida, and it's important for the economies around South Florida that, of course, depend on clean water. If you go back 10 years, no one would have thought we would be here. People didn't think that this was possible. Everglades restoration had been left largely to the Army Corps. Federal and state funding was low, and many were wondering if we could actually do it. Could you actually save the Everglades? Could you actually restore the Everglades? But we decided that we would do something about it. We led, and here we are. So we're excited about today's ribbon cutting. We think that this is something that shows that you can get things done, and I want to thank everybody that's been involved from the state of Florida with our Department of Environmental Protection to, of course, the South Florida Water Management District and all the partners that we've had, not just for this current ribbon cutting, but all the things that have been done over these last 5 years. It's been really historic, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. And as I said earlier, we have a great partnership with the state, with the Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection. Works very closely with us on funding and helping us in Tallahassee. And we're lucky to have their Secretary, Sean Hamilton. Sean?
Thank you, Chauncey, and good morning again. I'm Sean Hamilton, Secretary of DEP, and trust me, it is truly an honor to serve at a time when such an emphasis and support has been placed on our environment. You know, all of us gathered here today play a key role in restoring one of the most aggressive hydrological restoration projects in the world. And we are approaching Everglades restoration holistically. We are working with our partners, local, state, federal, tribal, to expedite critical restoration projects and fund infrastructure projects to improve water quality and safeguard Florida's water resources. And as the governor noted, the EAA Reservoir is the crown jewel in those restoration efforts. The governor has led the charge, and you heard from his comments. He's led the charge. He's been at the tip of the spear to call for those increased resources and funding to make sure we have measurable progress within our generation to see this through. Since 2019, as the governor noted, the legislature has appropriated over $2.4 billion in state funding for Everglades restoration and water quality, which is more, just for context, that's more than the previous 12 years combined. And this included in this, just specifically, and the governor highlighted this budget, but specifically for the EAA and this proposed Florida's, focusing on Florida's future budget, $64 million is set aside just for the EAA reservoir. And again, that's through that continued funding, the governor's leadership, we expect to see projects come online that will rapidly improve the water quality in our Everglades and our coastal ecosystems. And again, as the colonel noted a while ago, and rightfully so, the executive director has been known as Drew Scissorhands Bartlett. That is a title that he affectionately wears, but I think he has earned it and continues to earn it with close partnerships with our federal partners. But in all seriousness, doing these ceremonies, it's one thing the comment on the completion, but we also always highlight how these projects are either ahead of schedule or advancing on their timelines. And I think we should all take great pride in that, because to me that represents the sense of urgency and the coordination that is associated with these projects. Some of you know better than most. A lot of these projects, from concept to actually what we're doing today, there is a lot. There's studies, there's engineering, there's more studies, there's studies on studies, there's congressional authorizations, there's funding. I don't think most average folks should ever want to know what's involved. Just realize that there are a lot of good folks doing that work and making this happening. And so by working with the South Florida Water Management District and the Army Corps of Engineers and our other state agencies and local stakeholders, we've developed momentum, but we're also sustaining it. And not only these projects restore the natural Florida clean water, but I think it's important to note, and as Chauncey noted, it helps us to alleviate those harmful discharges to our estuaries. Again, all that can serve to exacerbate blue-green algae and red tide outbreaks, and we don't need that. And as Chauncey, I have wiped 2018 out of my brain because we plan to never see that again. So restoring America Everglades is one of the, and as the governor noted, one of the most ambitious hydrological restoration projects ever undertaken anywhere. But days like today should remind all of us what's possible if we all endeavor and we continue to work to make sure we see this through. And so, Governor, again, I want to thank you for your leadership. I also want to especially thank the South Florida Water Management District, the Army Corps of Engineers, our DEP Everglades team, our many state and local partners. But I also want to thank the contractors. I want to thank all of those project managers, those project engineers, those out here who, as you can see as we drove in and as you see behind me, are turning dirt, making this a reality. And so thank you for what you're doing to protect and restore Florida's water resources and the Everglades for today and tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Hamilton. Now I'm going to turn to our federal partner. As you probably know, everything we do with SERP is with the federal partners, with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we're thrilled today to have Brigadier General Hibner with us from the South Atlantic Division. Thank you, sir.
Governor DeSantis and all of our distinguished guests that came here to celebrate this moment today, thank you for being here. Good morning. This is a really important moment in the execution of this program, this critical program. The water management system that was constructed in Florida in the 40s and the 50s, it serves multiple purposes for the communities of South Florida. And these multiple project purposes provided by Congress must be balanced. And that's part of balancing what we're doing here today, getting it right. The system that was put in place, though, in the 40s and 50s did have those unintended consequences that got us out of balance. And so now it's time to get it right, to include with Lake Okeechobee, the coastal estuaries, the River of Grass in Florida Bay, and is why the infrastructure modifications associated with the comprehensive Everglades restoration plan are so vitally important. Water resources are the basis for community resiliency in Florida, driving the economy, the well-being of the people, and the ecosystems in the state of Florida. The resiliency needs of South Florida are urgent, and implementing Everglades restoration projects will significantly contribute to the overall resilience of this region. Now, much of our recent progress is due to a firm and ongoing commitment to Everglades restoration, both at the state and the federal level, as well as our strong partnerships with the South Florida Water Management District, which I believe is unique to the Corps of Engineers. And so now you can see here today that together we are getting things done. This stormwater treatment area is an incredibly important piece of that puzzle, and being able to store more water from the lake and ultimately send more water south will benefit the entire region, improving the health of Lake Okeechobee, reducing releases to the estuaries, rehydrating wetlands in the Central Everglades and Everglades National Park, and improving the health of Florida Bay. To provide these benefits, it takes big. You got to think big, you got to build big, and it takes big investment, and it's happening. Governor DeSantis, you mentioned our piece of this puzzle along with so many other parts, but the reservoir in particular, that's a 10,500 acre reservoir covering approximately 16 square miles with the capacity to store 240,000 acre feet of water. That's big. And we're here today celebrating this big moment because of our great partnerships. And in my region, the South Atlantic Division, our area of responsibility spans from North Carolina all the way along the southeastern seaboard into the Gulf, encompassing the area going out to about the coast of Mississippi, the Caribbean, Latin America. And I can tell you, the partnerships with the state and all the other stakeholders that we have here, it doesn't get any better than what we have here. I'm really proud of that. And we're going to sustain that, and that's where we're going to be successful, is because of our strong commitments and our strong partnerships. And I look forward to continuing to advance these efforts together with the state, consulting with the Miccosukee and the Seminole tribes, and the community members also who help us ensure that these projects are providing water, improving the health of the ecosystem, providing economic benefits, and building a more resilient South Florida for generations to come. We're proud to be part of this important effort. Thanks for being friends of the Corps. Let us try. We will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, General Hibner. Our next speaker is no stranger to Everglades restoration. She started her career as a governing board member, and now she's the Assistant Secretary. I think she's done more in life, but she's the Assistant Secretary of Fish and Wildlife and Parks at the Department of Interior, Shannon Estenos. Shannon, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Governor, friends. It is so great to be. I'll tell you, the only thing that's better than coming to an Everglades restoration celebration is to come back home to Florida in January from Washington, D.C. to attend an Everglades restoration celebration. It's good to be home. On behalf of the Biden administration, I want to congratulate all of you for yet again reaching another tremendous milestone in this mission that we all share, which is to restore the Everglades. Governor, it's wonderful to be with you back again in the Everglades, celebrating more progress and celebrating the men and women who are delivering that progress. It's just tremendous. On a personal level, I am today, as I always am at these events, filled with pride and gratitude and happiness and satisfaction. Pride because I like to count myself as your colleague. I'm very proud of that. Gratitude to every single person who is here and who isn't here. And I know there are many more people who are not here that deserve our gratitude than could be here, for the professionalism, the expertise, the hard work that brings a project like this and so many others home. Happiness because of this specific project and what it means. It is a keystone in the sort of heart of the strategy to restore the Everglades, relieving pressure on the estuaries while sending clean water to the central and southern Everglades to hydrate Everglades National Park. And I want to acknowledge that the superintendent has driven up to be here. Pedro Ramos is with us. And that is to acknowledge how important this part of Everglades restoration is to Everglades National Park and the Department of the Interior. Satisfaction satisfaction that almost a quarter century in, not that I'm old enough to have been working on this for that long, actually I am, a quarter century in, how incredibly robust this program is. Governor talked about state records and funding. The idea that President Biden would have the opportunity to set federal records of funding more than 20 years into this program, that is a testament to all of you and to all of the people over the years who have made this program as successful and as investable as it is. You know, it's because the federal government, the state government, tribal governments, stakeholders, the public, you have developed a recipe for working effectively together. And frankly, I think we may be doing it better here than anywhere else in the country. And what is that recipe? What are the ingredients? Number one, stick-to-itness. If I won't reveal everybody's age, but I bet if I asked how many people under this tent have been working on this for more than 20 years, there would be a number of hands. Okay, yeah, see, people are already, yeah. Stick-to-itness. You work so hard, and you never stop working. You are relentless about solving problems, okay? So the program is effective. You know that engaging tribes, engaging the public, engaging stakeholders, that's not important. It is non-negotiable. And you've learned over the years to be flexible, to be creative, to stick to it. You work so hard not to leave people behind, right? Because if you start leaving people behind in a program like this, then maybe support for your program starts to fray. That has not happened because you work hard to not leave people behind. And finally, every good recipe has a secret ingredient, a little secret sauce, as all of us who have grandmothers know. What is the secret sauce? In my opinion, it's community. It's the fact that over the years, you all have become a community, not just with bonds between people, but with bonds between institutions. And that's a big deal when you've built institutional bonds. Those are the bonds that get called into action and can be brought to bear when things get hard. And in Everglades restoration, things always get hard. I don't know who said it, Secretary Hamilton. It's hard to bring a project like this to the finish line. It's hard, and I want you to know that I know it. And it's this is the reason that the administration supports this project. It's the reason the public supports it. It's the reason that state leaders support it, because it's a strong program. I always say too much at these things. Many of you know I always say too many words, but many of you know that I sit in Nathaniel Reed's old office at the Stuart Udall building in DC, and his photo hangs in my conference room. His autobiography sits on my conference table because I want his legacy close. I want to constantly be reminded of it. And I know that Nathaniel would have one word yelled loudly in his big baritone, which I cannot do, but it would say it all at a moment like this. He would say, "Bravo," is what he would say. Bravo. And that's what I leave you with. Bravo, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Secretary Espinosa. Our next speaker has been working on Everglades projects at the federal level, at the state level, and now at the NGO level. And Eric, we can't thank you enough. Eric Eichenberg from the Everglades Foundation.
It's fitting that Porter Goss was on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, yielding time as the comprehensive Everglades restoration plan was being debated and then ultimately passed in a bipartisan nature. Now, 23 years and 2 months later, Chauncey is managing time at an event and for a project that is long overdue. It's a privilege to be here with each and every one of you. I look out on this crowd, and the faces that are present have been through the many twists and turns, the ups and downs as it relates to Everglades restoration, and particularly the EAA Reservoir. For me, it's 2013, a year into the tenure at the Everglades Foundation, having met Jackie Thurlow-Lippisch on the banks of the St. Lucie River at the height of the lost summer, and to exit my vehicle and to be overwhelmed by the smell of toxic water in the Stewart Marina, to see Mark Perry and the River Kids, who today are now in college, and others in Martin County leading the charge that something has to stop, something has to give as it relates to the water crisis back in 2013. That was a pivotal time, a pivotal moment in this effort. Realtors, small business owners coming forward to say we were at an economic loss. At the heart of it, environmental. But the economic impacts were clear as the day is long. In 2016, a letter from the Assistant Secretary of the Army was issued on July 26th of 2016 to then Congressman Patrick Murphy about this project. And the letter stated that the federal government was eager to get the EAA reservoir moving, but planning would start in 2021. When that letter was received, the incoming Senate president from Martin County said, no way. And I don't know if Joe Negron is here, but I'm sure he's listening. This was a profile in courage back in 2016 and in 2017 to have a leader of this state, the Senate president, making a hallmark of his presidency the authorization of the EAA reservoir. Rob Bradley from Jacksonville authoring this legislation, Joe Negron leading it through both chambers, and then ultimately to the governor's desk, which he signed, Governor Scott. That was a pivotal moment. But I will also tell you that the next moment that came shortly thereafter was in January of 2019, when Governor DeSantis, standing at high noon at the old Capitol, in his inaugural address, he made it very clear that we were collectively going to solve our water quality challenges. We were going to restore the Everglades, and we were going to protect the economy. And he said in that address that we would not be cowed and we would not let the foot draggers stand in our way. So that battle cry from January 8th of 2019 has led to this moment. And Governor, your decision to place 9 men and women on the board of the South Florida Water Management District changed the paradigm of how this process has been operating since. With Chauncey and his colleagues, it has been a new day in West Palm Beach, a day that has put the Everglades and the environment on level footing. It has made it a priority to make sure that we are storing, cleaning, and sending water south through the River of Grass, under the beautiful bridges along Tamiami Trail, into Everglades National Park, and to the fishing capital of the world, Florida Bay. That's the way God created the peninsula. And we are, all of us, ensuring that we hand it off to the next generation so that they can ensure that what we have preserved is here for their kids and their grandchildren. It has been said that the Everglades is a test, and if we pass it, we'll keep the planet. Well, this is a milestone in this process, and we have achieved success here today. But the test continues. The test continues. And over these next 7 years, the remainder of this decade, with Governor DeSantis in the mansion, the legislature, we're going to see the funding that's needed to fulfill this project. But by 2030, we have reconnected Lake Okeechobee down to Florida Bay. That's what this is all about. Thank you, each and every one of you, for your time, your dedication to my colleagues and partners in the environmental and conservation community. We cannot do it without you. And we thank the bipartisan leadership, both in Washington and in Tallahassee, to make this possible. We urge the legislature to fund Governor DeSantis' budget recommendations. Long live the Everglades.
Thanks very much, Eric. If you'd asked our final speaker 10 years ago, or if you told our final speaker 10 years ago that, hey, you're going to be in the middle of the Everglades giving a speech to the governor and a bunch of people, he probably would have said, what? This is a fishing guide who came from Fort Myers, a good friend of mine who was fed up and said, I've had it. You're ruining my business. You're ruining all of our business. and he put together Captains for Clean Water with Captain Chris Whitman, and that was only 8 years ago. It's amazing how much you've been able to accomplish in the last 8 years, Daniel. Thanks for being here. Look forward to hearing your remarks.
Good morning. So 8 years ago today, I really didn't know a whole lot about Everglades restoration. I was sitting on my boat in Pine Island Sound, appreciating the fact that I got to spend 300 plus days a year seeing the sunrise on the water, not having to wear shoes to work, and being with people for the happiest moments of their year. A few short weeks later, in a similar weather pattern to what we're in right now, the El Nino event, we had a substantial amount of rain that fell across South Florida. Next thing we knew, massive discharges from the Caloosahatchee, from the St. Lucie rivers, and my office was closed. I couldn't, in good faith, take money from my clients and go out and give them a bad experience. And they were leaving, and they were going elsewhere. And my biggest fear in life is seeing something destroyed that I love, that I care about a lot. And there's no inanimate thing that I care about more than the waters here in South Florida. They put me on a trajectory in life that if it wasn't for that, I would have ended up in a worse place. Since then, I've learned so much, met so many people, and certainly even a couple weeks into the organization started, never thought I'd be here today seeing such incredible progress that's been happening. Because at the start, it was very frustrating. It was not inspiring, it was not motivating, but that fear of seeing something that I loved and that Floridians loved and that Americans loved and came down to enjoy, knowing that that was threatened, kept me up at night and kept a lot of us up at night. And that's the spirit of our organization, Captains for Clean Water. The impacts of this go far beyond fishing guides. We recently commissioned a study with the Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation, the Conservancy of Southwest Florida. Over 43,000 jobs could be lost by another algae bloom like what we saw in 2018. 43,000 jobs. That's a lot of people. And that's just looking at the Southwest Florida impacts. In addition to that, over $17 billion in property value lost from a harmful algae bloom, and billions of dollars otherwise from the coastal economy. The progress that we're seeing today is remarkable, and Governor DeSantis, I cannot thank you enough for your commitment to this. As a fishing guide, I learned to make my living based on the tides, and when you came in office in 2019, you changed the tide on Everglades restoration, and with that incoming tide brought hope. It alleviated that fear of seeing what I love, what I care about lost right in front of my eyes. I want to thank everybody who's worked on this issue, from the NGOs to the district to the Corps, DEP, and every other partner that's here today. I know that everybody who's had any impact on making this happen has lost a little bit of sleep over it, had a headache in the afternoons from a rough day, everything that goes along with the world of Everglades restoration. And I appreciate you very much. This is a huge milestone for Everglades restoration. We have more to go. We've got to get LOSOM to the finish line. We've got to get Governor DeSantis' budget fully funded this year and many years to come. And I think of all the quotes that have been said in my time here in Everglades restoration, from Eric's reference of Governor DeSantis' inaugural address, we will not be cowed. We will not let the naysayers and foot draggers stand in our way. Our board member, Captain C.A. Richardson, who was in Tallahassee during a heated legislative battle, who said, "We don't quit when we're tired, we quit when we're done, and we are not done." Most of all, I think of a quote from my 1-year-old little boy. When he gets up every morning, you can just see the fire, the spirit in his eyes. Whether it's taking his first step or smearing our dog with sweet potatoes and applesauce, whatever his accomplishment was, he clenches his fist and said, "I did it! I did it!" and just keeps moving right on to his next challenge. And that's the spirit that we have to have here for Everglades restoration. This is a huge milestone, but just as Blake clenches that fist and says, I did it, he's on to the next challenge immediately, trying to figure out how to get into trouble or whatever it is in his little brain that says, this is my next challenge. He just, grit and determination like I've never seen before, moves on and gets it done. And I do have a little bit of a threat here. That little boy, Blake, he gets clobbered by his older brother all waking hours of the day. And I've never seen, if you think I'm a pain, if you've dealt with me, wait till you see Blake, because he's even more determined and he's even more impatient than I am. And if you have to deal with him to get these projects completed, you're going to regret it, because he's a little firecracker. So I hope for everybody's sake that we can get this done, get that water flowing south, and get these estuaries saved for him, for his kids, for all of our kids, for all of our future generations that deserve clean, healthy estuaries so that they can have the chance to enjoy them in any way they choose to do so. With that, we have a wonderful lunch provided by our friends at Big Nick's Barbecue in Fort Myers, waiting for y'all on the way out. Governor, highly recommend grabbing a slice of brisket on your way out. It's the best around. Thank you. Thanks for everything. Enjoy the lunch today. Appreciate all the hard work, the dedication, and take at least a second to look out over that STA and clench your fist. And you know, I think little Blake, he all he knows is I, me right now. But, you know, maybe we can make that a we and say, you know, we did it. Together we did it. The government, the citizens, and the hundreds of thousands of people that are sitting in their houses today, sitting at their desk at work, thinking about what a monumental effort this has been and the tremendous amount of progress that's been made. Clench that fist, look out over that. We did it, and on to the next challenge. Appreciate you all very much.
Well, thank you, Captain Andrews, very much. That concludes our speaking portion. What we're going to do now is the part we're all here for is the ribbon cutting, and then more importantly, we're going to get that pump turned on and fill this thing up. If I could have all of the speakers and the governing board members come up, we're going to cut some ribbon.
Big question. We have some fish out here. Do you know what they said when they ran into a wall? Damn. Yeah, I know it's cheesy. All right, now we're going to do our actual cutting. So make sure that paper is right here, and when I say 3, you'll do the cut, all right? 1, 2, and 3. Great job.